Well, now we're going to actually take a little bit of a side trip to look at what the employee can be expected to take home. So in what we were talking about before is the cost of labor for the company, and now we're going to talk about what the employee takes home if they have a particular level of salary or wages. And this is not really part of the cost of the fully allocated cost calculation, but I think it will be of interest to you. So what we want to do is we want to look at taxes that are paid by the employee. There are federal and there's state. On the federal side, you pay income tax. You also pay Social Security tax and Medicare. If you remember, Social Security tax and Medicare are paid by both the employer and the employee, so we want to include that. On the state level, you pay state income tax and you pay disability insurance. This is in California. There might be other state taxes, so just remember that what we're talking about here is California. Well, when we look at income tax, both state and federal, they have an incremental income tax, and they also allow deductions from income. So in the case of the example we've been looking at, where you have $65,000 wages, the taxable income actually can be less than that if you have deductions, and most people do have some level of deductions. So we're going to go through a calculation of those income tax in both the state and federal, but first I want to overview the other taxes, which is Social Security tax. Again, at 6.2% on wages up to $113,000. There's their limit on the wages. This is the same that the employee pays. And then for Medicare, it's 1.45%, and there's no limit. This is also the same as the employer pays. For disability insurance, which is called SDI in California, it's 1.2% of the wages, up to $93,316. So again, you should be able to find those values on the handout that is on PolyLearn. Those particular values you can refer to later. So when we look at federal income tax, we'll look at that first. And I'm going to look at this particular tax rate that is for a single person. And it's different if you're married. It's different if you're married, filed and jointly. There's various schedules. But since most of you are single, I'm going to look at this right now. And this is 2012. So this was last year's, which is the income tax that you should be filing right now. What we look at here is we say that there's going to be incremental jump up in the taxes. And you can kind of see that in this plot where between $0 and $8,700, the tax rate is 10%. So you only have to pay 10% of that value. Now, most of the deductions you have are pretty close to over $87,000, so you wouldn't have to pay any taxes. But that is the taxable income. If the taxable income is up to $8,700, then you would have to pay 10% on that. And the next increment between $8,700 and $35,350, you pay 15%, so it jumps up. And then you can see it jumps up to 25, and then to 28, 33, and 35. So at the highest level, if your income is over $388,000, you're going to be paying on the incremental income, not on the whole part, that the amount over. See, so you pay some base amount, which is based on all these previous increments, and then anything over this amount, $388,000, you pay 35%, and that's how the income tax works. So let's look at the calculation for this. For income tax, the wages can be reduced by qualifying deductions like dependents, charitable contributions, and interest on primary residence. Those are the things that are most common types of deductions. So for our example, we'll assume that these deductions is about $10,000. Therefore, the taxable income is going to be wages minus deductions, or $55,000. This is our example of the $65,000 income. So the calculation for the federal tax is that if you look at, for the first $8,700, you pay 10%. For the increment between $8,700 and $35,350, you pay 15%. Anything over $35,350 and your taxable income is over that at $55,000, you pay 25%. Now the next increment, I don't remember what it is $85,650, and you're not over that amount, so you're just done with the calculations. So that means your income taxes you pay is almost $10,000. Now, the other federal taxes that we are concerned about is FICA, which is on the whole amount. Now, it's not on the $55,000, it's on the entire $65,000, and the same with Medicare. So if we look at this, we have $65,000 minus the federal income tax, minus the FICA, minus Medicare. So right now, after federal taxes, you receive $50,000. Now, you remember that when we did the calculation for the cost to the company, we actually added the taxes, right? Because the cost of wages was a cost to the company, and in addition, we have the cost of the taxes. But for take-home pay, it's opposite. Wages are an income to the individual, and these taxes are an expense, so they're opposite of each other. So we subtract those out. Now let's look at the state schedule. It's very much the same kind of schedule. It's incremental. It's just a much lower rate. So you can see that the highest rate here is 12%. And that's over $500,000. And the initial value is 1%. So it's the same kind of incremental value. So we're going to use this schedule. Instead of doing it like we did here, where we did the first 10%, the first 87,000 is 10%, etc. We're going to actually use the way they do it here, which is we indicate, well, where is our income falling? We have 55,000, so it's between 48,000 and 250. So that means we have this amount of tax plus 9.3% of anything over 48,000, which is this limit. I'm going to show you that calculation then. So it's 254 plus 55 minus 48,942 times 9.3%. And that means the state income tax is 2718. SDI, if you remember, it's 1.2%. It's on the total 65,000. So now we've added these two state taxes. And that means that right now, then, your take-home pay after taxes is $46,749. That's $18,250 that you pay in taxes. It's kind of shocking to think about. So then let's look at other kinds of deductions that you might have as an employee. You might have to pay for health care. $500 a month is pretty average. There might be automatic retirement deductions of $300 a month. That's just an estimate. These are just numbers. You also might consider yourself to be contributing to your 401k, which is your own retirement fund. And that's, let's just say that's limited at 5%. So all of these values are estimates. These are just what they might be if you're an employer. There might also be other deductions. But that means your annual paychecks is $33,900, which is about $28.25 per month. So that's the amount you're going to be taking home in your paycheck. And what I'd like you to do is think of all the other expenses you might have if you were living in the Bay Area. Commuting to work, rent, utilities, cell phone, eating out, food, clothes, anything. And if you have loan payments, things like that. And then I'd like you to consider then how much do you think you'll be able to contribute to savings each month. That will be your assignment.